Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto, where we come to transform ourselves, each other, and the world. And happy Father's Day, when we reflect on the families that raised us and those that we've created ourselves. Let's all unmute for a few moments to say hello. Hello. Hello, hello. You can see the order of service by following the link in the chat. And now, let us begin our service. We light our chalice with the words of William Butler Yeats. Join me in lighting yours if you wish. The world is full of magic things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper. With our centering words each week, we draw on the many sources of our living tradition. Today's words are adapted from Rudyard Kipling. Trust yourself when others doubt you. Wait and don't be tired by waiting. If you're lied about, don't deal in lies. If you're hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good, nor talk too wise. As we follow the sound of the bell into silence, let us become centered and fully present in this place together. Please join in as Bruce leads us in singing, "Come Sing a Song with Me."
walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
We now turn our thoughts to the important events in our lives which we wish this community to share. Today, we will hold them in silence. So if you have a joy or a sorrow you would like us to know, please post it in the chat box provided by Zoom. I encourage each person, wherever we are, to murmur them aloud or picture the people involved and hold them with care in prayer and meditation.
The circle of enabling love, where people grow forgiven and forgiving. Break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes, embraces all the living. Come wonder at this love that comes to life, where words of freedom are with humor spoken, and people keep no score of wrong and guilt, but will that human bonds remain unbroken. Join then the movement of the love that frees, till people of whatever race or nation will truly be themselves, stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
Here are some excerpts from Don't Think of an Elephant by George Lakoff, the inspiration for this service. In the fall of 1994, I was watching the election speeches and asked myself, what do the conservative positions have to do with each other? If you're a conservative, what does your position on abortion have to do with your position on taxation, the environment, foreign policy? How does this fit together? What does being against gun control have to do with being in favor of tort reform? What makes sense of this linkage? I said to myself, these are strange people. Their collections of positions make no sense. But then an embarrassing thought occurred to me. I have exactly the opposite position on each of those issues. What do my positions have to do with each other? And I couldn't figure that out either. Eventually, the answer came. It came from a study of family values. The conservatives were talking so much about family values. Why did certain values count as family values and others did not? Why would anyone facing terrorism and global warming constantly talk about family values? At this point, I remembered a paper one of my students had written, pointing out that we all have a metaphor for the nation as family. Founding fathers, daughters of the American Revolution, we send our sons to war. So I asked myself the question, if there are two different understandings of the nation, do they come from different understandings of the family? So working backwards from conservative and liberal positions, Lakoff derives two views of the family he calls the strict father model and the nurturant parent model. In the strict father model, the world is a dangerous place and always will be because there's evil out there. The world is also dangerous because it's competitive. There will always be winners and losers. Children are born bad in the sense that they want to do what feels good rather than what's right. Therefore, they must be made good. What's needed in this world is a strong, strict father who can protect the family in this dangerous world, support the family in this difficult world, and teach his children right from wrong. What is required from the child is obedience, because the father knows what's right and wrong, and the child does not. The only way to teach obedience is through punishment. Punishment causes a child to develop an internal discipline to keep themselves from doing wrong. Without such punishment, the world would go to hell. There would be no morality. This internal discipline has another effect. It's what's required for success in the difficult, competitive world. The same discipline you need to be moral is what allows you to prosper. Given opportunity and self-interest, pursuing your self-interest allows you to prosper. This is linked to a metaphor that views well-being as the same as wealth. If you do me a favor, quote, I owe you one, unquote. If everyone pursues their self-interest, then by Adam Smith's invisible hand, everyone's self-interest will be maximized. So it's moral to pursue your self-interest. Those who do not are do-gooders who get in the way of the pursuit of self-interest and screw up the system. Good children learn discipline and obedience and pursue their self-interest and prosper. Bad children become dependent. The best thing for the father to do in either case is not to meddle in their lives. Notice that one result of this set of beliefs is that social programs that take care of people are wrong. It's a moral issue. The nurturant parent model, by contrast, is gender neutral. Both parents are responsible for raising their children. Children are born good and can be made better. The world can be made a better place, and our job is to work on that. The parents' job is to nurture their children and teach them to nurture others. Nurturance means two things: empathy and responsibility. Parents need to know when a child is hungry, needs a new diaper, etc. And they need to take care of the child. Since you can't take care of others unless you take care of yourself, you need to take care of yourself too. This is not easy. You must be strong and work hard. You must be competent and know a lot. If you empathize with your child, you will protect them from crime, drugs, cars without seatbelts, smoking, harmful food additives, terrorism. You want your child to be fulfilled, to be happy. If you are unfulfilled or unhappy, your child will not be fulfilled and happy. So your moral responsibility is to be fulfilled and happy, and to teach your child to be fulfilled and happy. Other values that follow from this are freedom, opportunity, prosperity, and fairness. Empathy implies open, two-way communication, leading to trust, which implies honesty as a value as well. Finally, raising an empathetic child requires a cooperative community, so community building and service to the community become values. Contemplate this while we listen to the anthem.
Oh
Did you grow up with the belief that the world was a hostile place and that you needed your family for protection? Did the elders in your life view themselves as protectors, and the job of parenting and mentoring was to make you strong enough to survive outside the family? Or did you grow up in a family that saw the world as a good place, filled with exciting things and people who, although they might act bad from time to time, were in their hearts good people? Did your parents and mentors view their role as nurturing you, blowing on your spark, with the belief that if you found your true self, you would do just fine in the world? How many of you grew up thinking of the world as hostile? How many as benign? Somewhere in the middle? Did your parents' politics reflect that view of the world? Do yours? As Unitarian Universalists, we are, in principle, open to all political points of view. But let's take a look at our 7 principles. The inherent worth and dignity of every person. That doesn't leave much room for evil out there in the world, or children being born bad. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Not much here about being strong, self-disciplined, and competitive. Acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Nothing here about good and bad people. A free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Note, not right or wrong. Right of conscience, and democratic process. Note again, not right or wrong. World community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. This explicitly negates the idea of competition and the existence of good and bad people. Finally, respect for the interdependent web of all existence. This is a bit hard to reconcile with competition, not to mention the existence of evil. It's clear that our principles are in alignment with a nurturant view of the world, and rather difficult to reconcile with this strict father model. Let's look at what one conservative writer has to say about New Age religions. Despite our hundreds of years of history, UUs are front and center in this category. Texa Mars, in Dark Secrets of the New Age, writes, Saturday morning cartoons are almost predominantly New Age-oriented, with definite overtones of sorcery, witchcraft, and Satanism. And later, speaking of mantras, what the New Ager is doing by chanting these unholy words is putting himself into a vulnerable state at the same time that demons are invited to appear and do their horrible work. And again, the leaders of the New Age world religions are Satan's generals and admirals. In concert with their demon advisors, these men and women have drawn up their battle plan. Sounds like the world is a dangerous place and there's evil out there. While these statements, which I assure you are representative of the entire 260-page book, may seem sick, paranoid, and extreme, an hour with Google will find many similar sentiments today. What strikes me about these writings is the eagerness, the spoiling for a fight nature of the verbiage. This is not an analytical analysis of a religious movement. It's a call to arms. Onward, Christian soldiers. We must protect ourselves against this evil. Bring 'em on. Another thing that strikes me is the almost total lack of anything concrete that needs to be done. Despite the militaristic tone, it's almost pacifistic when it comes to action. We should just all accept Christ as our Savior, that's all, then everything will be fine. It's easy to see how people carrying a lot of anger and hostility can be inflamed by this kind of writing. And the writers themselves may have even had some unconscious motivation for their tone and style. But although I expected every time I turned the page to come upon a call to burn the witches, it never came. Mar's last paragraph is, "That's why I encourage Christians to reach out to New Agers in love and to counteract this heresy with all the spiritual weapons that Jesus so richly provides us, including prayer, reading God's holy word, Christian example, and, most important of all, faith." I could worship with someone who kept to that. The fear of evil, and even the fear of the Lord, is clear in these writings, and it fits Lakoff's model perfectly. What's less clear is the role of fear in the liberal psyche. If liberals are taught empathy and responsibility from an early age, then losing empathy is painful and gives rise to fear. It isn't right, and we don't feel comfortable. So strongly prejudiced people or fanatics of any stripe make us uncomfortable, angry, and often afraid. Bigots scare us. Narrow-minded fanatics terrify us. Our empathetic tools for dealing with people don't work, and we're at a loss. So this leads us to ask, to transform the world, what kind of transforming of ourselves and each other are most effective? I think the historical record is mixed. Despite massive freedom marches and some stirring words, the real action in the civil rights movement took place in a handful of court cases. Perhaps not entirely unrelated, but the connection is tenuous. Massive protests against the Vietnam War led to little change. Only defeat finally caused a change. On the other hand, the Berlin Wall falling, the Argentine grandmothers, the Velvet Revolution, all happened because a lot of ordinary people just said no. What is the role of sit-ins, the Gay Pride Parade, marches on Washington, Black Lives Matter? When do they help? When do they hurt? And what's really going on when real change happens? Transforming ourselves is a virtue. We can always get better. When it comes to transforming each other, not to mention the world, we're on a slippery slope. As a first step, we need to understand those we are changing. And perhaps with this understanding, continue to transform ourselves as well as each other and the world. For me, as I sat with the ideas, I began to become more aware of the fear behind the conservative points of view. I can even pity those who were treated so badly as children that they turned from sweet babies into paranoid, truth-blind idiots. We can feel pity for a rabid dog while still protecting ourselves from it. And although it's uncomfortable to realize it, liberals also carry a burden of fear. This has been especially true for the last 2 years. It's hard for anyone to think clearly when they're afraid, especially if they're repressing it. Becoming aware of and exploring our fears can be an important step towards transforming ourselves, each other, and the world.
As Edward Everett Hale said, "I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do." With our offering, each of us gives what we can in this moment, just as together with our time, treasure, and talent, we sustain this congregation and all that it brings to us and our community. The offering will now be given and received. The order of service gives a QR code and link, and also information on using text to give via Give Lively.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
As we extinguish this chalice, may we hold its light within us.
Please stay after the benediction for our virtual coffee time. You'll be invited to small group breakout rooms to have a longer conversation with each other, or you can stay here in the main room and discuss the service with Steve. You should be able to move between breakout rooms on your own, depending on which Zoom version you have in your computer today. The rooms will stay open for half an hour. Now, please unmute yourself, turn on your video, and touch hands virtually like this while we say our benediction together. Go out into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to what is good. Return no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Rejoice in beauty. Speak love with word and deed. Honor all beings. Amen.